On the case, Bigfoot time can't replace. Truth is what we seek to find. Science leads us no behind. Through the forest, deep and wide, cameras rolling side to side. Every clue, footprint, trace. Bigfoot's not a myth they chase. Sunday night or Friday too. Bigfoot's real, the truth in you. Science, sense, and grace combined. This is all it's time to shine. Mystery solved, it's time to shine. Squatch-D brings it live. Steve and Chris, they're gonna fly. No stone unturned, the facts alive. Bigfoot story now defined. Footsteps here and shadows there. In the woods they do prepare. Concerts the light way. Bigfoot secrets shown today. Sunday night of fire to shine. Sunday night of sunshine. Swan sees it's time to shine. Sunday night of fire to shine. Sunday night of fire to shine. It's always time to shine. Sponsor, it's always time to shine.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D TV. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, October 2nd, 2024. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, along with my co-host, right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris.
Good to see you, man. I hope everything's been going all right for you in New York.
Well, you've heard my tale of woe for this week.
Yeah. Steve's computer decided to lay down on him, but never fails. But that's okay. You know, they make new ones. And
turn lemons into lemonade, brother. Lemons into lemonade. And that's right. What we did here.
Bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah, we got quite the muscle machine now running the show, so we shouldn't have many problems at all.
Sure.
Like any of those little blurbs is probably caused by my machine overheating a little bit, my old machine anyway, which is now in the trash can.
But we've had some good weather here lately. We've had some sunshine the last couple of days. Thank goodness. Knock on wood.
Yeah, we had rain today.
Dry out a little bit, you know.
We had rain today.
Oh, yeah. Usually you guys get it about 2 or 3 days after us.
That's really funny. We got a lot more people in here than our counter is telling us. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, looks like the chat room's doing pretty good. It's a lot of comments in there.
All right, let's get our roll call out of the way. And of course, Sharon popped in to say hello.
Yeah.
And Relic commented as well. Our Europeans, our Euros.
Yeah.
PH is in the house.
Hey,
Don Gummo. Mick is in the house. Karen Fisher, good evening. Walter Kroll, happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to you. The Bat Mom. Hello, Bat
Bat
Mom. Good to
Mom.
see you. Sandra Piper. What is up?
Good to see you.
Jack Norton. There's a new name. Jack, welcome. I don't know if you're one of the lurkers, but welcome.
Good to see you.
Kevin Harder, Professor. Good to see you, sir.
Professor Harder, welcome.
Gary Johnson. Hello. Roy
Gary?
Langley. Oh, rather, Roy Longley, representing the lurkers. Lurkers gonna lurk.
We appreciate you checking in, Roy. And hello to everybody and all the lurkers out there. That's fine. You could stop in and say hello if you wanted to, but if you don't have
to. Yeah, so we spent a lot of the day yesterday rebuilding all the files that luckily I got some heads up that it was going to crap out.
Right.
And because when you have to turn it on to get all your systems running up like 4 or 5 times, I had to hard reboot it just to get everything working. And the minute I did, I said, all right, I'm going to send files over to my backup drive. And I saved probably about 90% of what I had. And then the next morning, I was fiddling with why I was getting a lot of feedback in my earpiece because I was testing out another platform. And I started getting this really bad rumble in my ear. So I'm trying to mess with things, and I accidentally unplugged the computer. And when I went to go back, if the monitors would come on, the keyboard wouldn't work. And the monitors, because it's an old all-in-one computer, they were all on USB. So
well, at least you had a little warning. You know, when I lost my I've lost computers before, and I've lost my external hard drives before.
And Grasshopper, we see you too.
Grasshopper.
Always, for whatever reason, he always gets skipped, and I don't understand why. It's not I'm doing it consciously.
No, I didn't see Grasshopper had made any remarks up in. No, maybe he did. I can't remember. I don't know. No telling.
Hey, Steve, Curious Cryptid in the house too, by the way.
Hey, good to see you, man. Yeah, welcome. Curious Cryptid.
So it died, and I wanted to take the SSD drive I had put in it a couple of years ago.
Right.
And when I opened up the machine, it was scorched.
Yeah.
The back cover was all scorched, and never again will I buy an all-in-one. They just don't have enough ventilation to them, and they're not really meant, all-in-ones. And this is my computer advice. I had never bought an all-in-one before, but in high insight, it's very much like a laptop. If you start running a lot of heavy processes on it, it's get very hot very fast.
Oh yeah, they get hot.
And every once in a while, even during the show, you can pick up the fan going on every once in a while.
Yeah.
On the computer. Not this one. This new one I have has 4 fans, and they're huge. It's 3 of the 4 sides are ventilated on it. So it's not and it's a tower.
Yeah. The new gaming machines, they will move a lot of air, and they do it quietly, and that's nice. Before, back in the old days, it sounded like you were, at an airport or something. I mean, I'm not talking about your old system, but in the old days when you had the old system, all these fans running, you could hear it like a mile away. Yeah. Man, it was really struggling to get rid of that heat. But these new ones, man, they just.
I think we caught you early, Gary Johnson Sr.'s in the house, as well as Bud O'Malley. Good to see you again, Bud. I think you were here last week at some point.
Right, welcome. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Always love the new names, or they could be old names that just been lurking. That's okay. I do that too.
That's right. Angel Nolan just snuck in too. Hello, Angel. So
but my experience with computers are, 1 minute they're working great, and then the next minute it's dead. It won't do anything. Back years ago, we had that online business thing, and Sandy, my wife, would process orders, and she came in, I would kind of wait in the living room patiently for her to bring out the paperwork, and then I would pack the orders. And she hollered at me one time. She said, "The computer dead." She's from Thailand. And I said, "What?" She said, "Computer dead." And I looked, and sure enough, it was dead. It just went blank while she was using it. Okay, well, ran over to Wally World and picked up a new one.
What did Malone say in the movie The Untouchables? It's deader. He's deader than Julius Caesar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually the way it goes. Are you using it 1 second, the next second, nothing, darkness. But
My favorite Sean Connery line in the movie. He's deader than Julius Caesar. He's dead.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
He's dead.
But you know, these things, they're challenges, but you know, you rise above it. You come out better, you know, after the challenge.
I mean, I've been a computer owner since 1991. So I mean, over 30 years of owning computers, it's like, okay, I know what I have to do.
My first one was an 88 monochrome, and I thought I was just, you know, well, at the time that was big deal.
There he is, Brian and Chewy go hiking.
Brian, let's see, man.
And I just saw Chewy on Saturday night, and Brian, of course, too.
Yeah.
Chewy was hysterical. He just kept walking to everybody, giving them a few sniffs, moving to the next person. He was like checking everybody out, the official.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of difficult for dogs because there's so many new smells when they go somewhere strange like that. So they like
so many different people.
Right. Yeah. A lot of butts to sniff.
All right. Is it time to talk some Bigfoot?
Well, yeah, I was kind of shocked by this headline here. I had not seen this.
Well, I didn't see it myself. Oh, wow. Grasshopper just said Matthew Perry's doctor found guilty just now. Wow. Probably for those the case stuff, because I don't want to say it. We'll get demonetized.
Oh, well, let's not talk about that.
Yep. But anyway, so we have, you asked me about this. So yeah, I didn't realize I saw this morning, and I figured this would make a good little story, and we can read. What I did was I transcribed the video. So now I have it. And what I did was I chose a section of the video because it was a 20-minute video. Titled Sasquatch Tried to Take Me, So I Shot Him.
Oh my God. Okay. This is interesting.
Yep.
This kind of sounds like that guy over in Mammoth Cave, you know, kind of like that.
So yeah, as the story goes, our protagonist in this tale was hiking earlier in the day with a friend, and they had heard what they thought was a dog howling, but they never found the dog. And they set up camp, and there were some other campers there with them that they knew. And that evening went by rather quiet, and then they decided to go to bed. And as they, you know, and this is where I'm going to pick up the story. Just a few seconds after I laid down, I both heard and felt something walk right up to the exposed side of my tarp opening. I felt the air move. If something moved very close to me, I opened my eyes in the darkness again, but all I saw was darkness. But I knew something was right by me. I smelled something also, something that I had probably been smelling while I was still asleep. And when I woke up, it didn't seem out of the ordinary, I guess. But what I smelled was a slight musky odor, kind of like when you put your nose down into a dog's fur and it probably needs a bath. I don't know. That's not the way. I mean, I've heard musky, but usually it's pretty pungent when it comes to a Sasquatch.
Yeah. But, I was thinking wet dog after he jumped in the swamp.
Death. And it's not dirty, but it's just musky. I also felt like I was feeling body heat radiating from something very near me. Maybe I was imagining it, but I really didn't think so. All right, let's think about that. So you're in a tent, you're in a tarp, and you're feeling body heat. I don't know. Sounds a little over dramatic to me, but it's kind of almost like it's kind of scripted for this type of show.
That's, that's almost like from the imagination. Sounds like.
Could be. I was, however, paralyzed with fear. Maybe I was imagining, but I really don't think so, too. I was paralyzed with fear. I suddenly had bionic hearing, and I believe I could hear it breathing and lightly huffing. It could have been a bear sniffing in the air intentionally, I thought, or it might have been taking in deep lungfuls of air. Well, that's not huffing or sniffing. It's not taking deep lungfuls, because when you take a deep lungful, you right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So does
So
not
this has to
sound
be in the tent with him or very near the tent?
very near the open tarp or whatever.
Okay.
So as I'm reading this, I'm like, again, as an interviewer, when I start looking at the cool thing about transcription is here's the spoken word. And a lot of time when you hear words like this and hear stories like that, you forget these little details. But when you have them in print verbatim, then you tend to be able to, wait a minute. First you said it might have been taking deep lungfuls of air, but then you said it was hear it breathing and lightly huffing. Well, there's a big difference there. And what this is it sounds like to me the person is creating this very melodramatic story. Just like I was smelling something, also smelling something that I had probably been smelling while I was still asleep. Like comments like that. It's like, they're trying for an like an artistic flair almost, and that is just within the person's psyche. Because I don't think a witness would necessarily write this eloquently about a range of events, especially when you hear what happens going forward. While he and I were talking, and it doesn't even say, we heard one of the girls squeal, and then they started yelling. Someone had better leave them alone. I believe she used the word dirty pervert. The guy from the other group, as in the guy and the girl couple, immediately said it wasn't him.
Okay.
Because like I said, there were other folks there. He was with his girlfriend, and you could tell by a voice he was in another part of the campground. And that sounds kind of hijinks too. Because if you're in a tent, all right, and you think you're being touched by somebody, and you squeal, and it doesn't. In other words, being touched does not elicit a scream,
right?
Necessarily, right?
Well, what I keep going back to is, where are the flashlights? Because I don't know about you guys, but anytime I slept in a tent, one hand was on a flashlight. In case you need to wake up, well, not hold it in your hand actually, but within arm's reach. In case you need to wake up in the middle of the night and turn on the light and go take care of nature.
Right. So I felt compelled to yell out that we were both all the way over where we were. I then saw a flashlight come on. There you go, across the way, about the same time as I found my flashlight and turned it on.
There you go.
So finally, the flashlights have showed up. Of course, too late. The women were outside of their tent. And you say, if something's touching you, what would make you think it's somebody else? They would have to unzip your tent, climb in, touch you, then sneak back out and zip your tent again, right?
Right.
Again, this is what I mean by, when you hear a bad guy tell an alibi that's so ridiculous, it's easy to spot these kind of glaring, inconsistencies in this story.
There's some things we got to consider too, though, Steve, because we don't know what kind of tents they had. That maybe they had just laid some tarps over a rope, like it made the.
They specifically said when the women were outside of their tent.
Okay, well, all right, that's pretty specific. You're right.
So And mind you, there wasn't a very big descriptive what their camp setup was.
Right.
So that would be my first question as an investigator. Let's say I'm investigating this as a possible molestation or a forcible touching type of incident.
Right.
Well, if you think it's him, how did he get inside your tent and then he was gone when he wasn't there when you were when you felt your touch,
Right.
felt the touch, because obviously the touch woke you up. And what elicited the scream? Because usually people, when they get touched, don't scream. Because when you wake somebody up, a lot of times you're touching them. Hey, time to get up.
Right.
Right? Doesn't
Right.
elicit a scream.
Yeah.
Maybe a what the, but not a. They were sure it had been one of us that had touched them. I yelled. The surprise movement made me lose the flashlight that I had in my left hand, but in my right hand that still had my pistol. Now we have a pistol. Now they don't mention that I pulled the pistol. In a panic, I shot ahead above me where anything was holding my ankle. That was holding my ankle might have been. Did I lose something here?
Something grabbed his ankle.
Right. So they went back to bed. For some reason, there was a portion that did not get pasted into this. I don't know why. So they end up going back to bed.
Okay.
And then the person, this gentleman, this is actually a male talking, said something had grabbed his ankle and started to pull him. I yelled. The surprise movement made me lose the flashlight that I had in my left hand, but my right hand that still had my pistol. In a panic, I shot up ahead and above me where anything that was holding my ankle might have been. Now, let's think about that for a second.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that sound like your typical gun safety?
No, you can't. Somebody grabbed your ankle. You can't see. It's because it's dark. So what do? Shoot? No. You say, hey, what the hell are you doing? You at least
what if it was the other camper? Now you're going to be
Right.
charged with murder.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I thought there was a bear on the other side of his tent, so I grabbed his ankle.
Yeah.
Pull him out. Right?
Ooh. Man. Okay. This
So
is
that
sounding
doesn't
pretty
sound right.
fictional. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So all of a sudden they wake up, and I hear something. I grab my flashlight, I grab my pistol, and all of a sudden something grabs my ankle, starts to pull me, and I go bang, bang, bang.
All right. This is
I am certain because my 38 had 6 rounds in it. When I counted in the morning, there were 3 left. So I know how many shots I fired. It was a panic firing, but I couldn't control it. I believe that all 3 hit their mark, but I have no proof. Well, again, your story is being built on a lie because that comment right there, but I have no proof, and I'll explain why. He goes on to conjecture would 338 bullets bring down a Bigfoot at close range? Well, only one would think so. The bottom line is that when a bullet enters flesh, it bleeds.
There's going to be something leaking.
It hits an organ. There's going to be something legal.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to have some drops around there somewhere.
And Gary says now there's a portable hole in his tent. Oh my God.
Yeah. If you shoot something 3 times with a 38, there's going to be some fluid somewhere.
I'm inclined to think that it would, but if it did, it gave up its ghost far away from that campsite. From the camp again, here's the poetic license. It gave up its ghost far away from the campsite that night. I fired those shots. It dropped me and it took off. Okay. Now they said they have no proof that all 3 hit their mark. At daylight, there was a very clear blood trail going off into the trees.
Aha. Well, now he has proof.
Man, why would you say that? I'm telling the story.
Right,
why would you question yourself?
Right.
And again, they go, now anyone with a half an ounce of tracking skill could have followed that trail
Sure.
easily, but not a single one of us were up to doing that. And for the record, well, obviously, you have piss poor pistol skills.
Oh my
Say
God.
that fast 5 times.
Yeah.
And now you're claiming to have tracking skills too. I hope your tracking skills aren't like your pistol skill.
Gun safety was definitely an issue there. You don't never shoot in the dark where you don't know
No,
what
sir.
you're shooting at. Yeah.
I don't think anyone else went to the Rangers either. They're in a pub there. Now, mind you, they're in a campground.
Right.
Somebody would have called. Shots
Sure.
fired.
Yeah.
Somebody would. I am certain that none of them really believe what happened that night was due to a bear, despite all of us agreeing that it was. And that's how that basically. There's some more jibber jab, but that's how pretty much the meat and potatoes of the story.
It seemed like a lot of this was written for dramatic effect. And if we have a blood trail there, I mean, why are we not following it to its conclusion? I don't understand it. Who's ever, if anybody in the chat has ever hunted deer, okay, who's hunted deer? I have. And sometimes when you get a shot in, that's not one shot's not enough to bring it down at that moment, not an instant. It doesn't go to sleep instantly. I'll put it that way. So you have to follow that blood trail, and it's just a drip and a drop every now and then that you can see on the grass or on the leaves.
So
you find it.
So here's the thing. It's a given that, okay, if you have a gun when you're out camping, generally you keep that close by.
Sure.
That's a given.
Right.
So okay, that sounds believable.
Sure.
To fire something in the dark blindly when there's other people in the camp, that could have been somebody playing a joke on them.
That's right. That's right.
Right. You don't pull that trigger until you see your target.
Yes. That's right.
Right.
So we may have a murder victim laying out in the woods somewhere now.
Right.
If this is to be believed,
right,
rather than a Bigfoot, we may have somebody that was playing a joke, maybe laying dead a mile away from the camp.
And they have a flashlight, but nobody ever sees anything with the flashlight. Nothing. Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing there when the light's on, then there's nothing there when the light's off.
Yeah, but he had his flashlight in one hand when it grabbed his leg. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, my first thought would have been to the flashlight because I would like to see what's going on in the dark.
Right.
If something's happening, especially.
Well, I can understand picking up the pistol too, because the first thing is self-preservation.
Sure. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of issues with this story.
Well, if it's a bear too, I mean, when a bear comes after you at night and it tries to take you out of your tent, well, yeah, you fight with everything you got. So, it's going to eat you.
So one of the comments in the official long transcript of it said, there was a comment made that, I could feel the fur on its leg because I brushed up against it as it pulled me out.
Well, okay.
The muscularity of its leg and all that. And my thought would be, how long was this thing pulling you?
Right.
I mean, that is such a fine detail to have in something that took place in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Bat Mom says fur, not hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is completely wrong for the Bigfoot because they have hair. But think about it. You start being grabbed, you drop your flashlight, bang, bang, bang. Right. You're going to have time to remember that your leg brushed up and the muscularity of the leg and all that. No, you're not.
I wouldn't think so. No. No.
Again, what happens is when you get people that make up stories, they add detail into things that are kind of ridiculous. It's how they caught Susan Smith, the girl that they put in it, they put kids in the drink. in South Carolina all those years back. And she said she was carjacked, and then she would have all these fine details. They were like, how the hell is she getting these details? Because it doesn't make sense how you would come up with these details if you were under that much duress.
Right. The story got better as time progressed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what's exactly happening in this is if you start reading it, the story is getting better. You know, they talk about this fleeting experience of being grabbed, firing 3, dropping your flashlight, firing 3 shots, and the Bigfoot runs off. But then in the following paragraphs, you get the soliloquy on how muscular the leg felt, and you could feel the fur. Well, how can you feel muscularity just brushing against something?
I don't know.
You really
It's
can't.
kind of weird. I can't say that I'm on board with this one. This seems to me more like a creative writing project. That's what it seemed like.
Right.
But you know,
and then the coup de grace is they stayed there one more night, and something had gotten into their satchels during that night.
Oh no.
Good. Now you had that experience, and you're going to camp there another night. Yep.
I'm out. After something grabbed my leg the first night, baby, by the time my feet hit the ground, I would have been in the car and on the way home, you know, and I would probably, as soon as I got home, stop by the restroom to change my panties. And then
yes, we're requesting a change of underwear. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mom, you're right. I would have left them. I would have been like, I'm getting the bleep out of here. Even the old Squatch Detective would be like, you know what? I'm going to go sleep in the car.
That's right. When they start grabbing my leg when I'm trying to sleep at night, no, right. I'm out.
Right. And then, well, he must have not killed the Bigfoot because it came back. And it must be pretty stupid since you unloaded 3 bullets into it for it to come back.
It's definitely learning disabled there. They had a problem learning not to touch things.
But, yes, this is 9 pounds of excrement in a 5-pound bag. But what have we learned here? Yeah. But what have we learned here? Always again, like the dude with the Bigfoot peeper pictures. Look at the story around it, and you can see,
right? You
know. But when you put it into like a letter form and you're reading it and like this, people just don't get it. So I went there in my Bigfoot blah blah, and you're hearing it instead of reading it, going, "Wait a minute, didn't you just say that here?" And you know, you can see this pattern sometimes.
Right.
Which is the reason why, you know, when you're an investigator, if things are said that are important, you start taking scribble notes real quick. Okay. You know, left turn, right turn, left turn. Now, you know.
Well, you know, the part about after he had fired 3 times at it, but he had no proof that he had hit it. And then he mentions the next day they found a blood trail.
No, in the morning. Yeah, during daylight, same day, I guess.
He should have said, "Well, I fired 3 times, and I know I hit it because the next day we found a blood trail." You know, it's not. I have no proof that I hit it.
Right?
Yeah. If it's leaking, you hit it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is just a story, and you can tell this is just a story on the fly.
Right.
Story on the fly.
You know, I don't mind the Bigfoot story channels, you know, that has the creative writing and stuff. That's okay.
I detest them.
Well, I don't mind, and as long as they're not trying to play it off as you know, like research or something. If it's just a story,
well, but they're playing it off as real.
Well, that's
And what happens is you put out 40 fake stories a week, especially in the fact that you're making it do something scary. And you know, like one of the videos on the channel is titled "A Stack of Bigfoot Bodies."
Oh boy.
You know, so when you start writing misinformation, because not only that, but I detest fictional stories for the main reason why is that, you know, ignorant people will believe them.
Yeah.
I mean, this Buckeye Bigfoot has almost 79,000 subscribers.
Well, a lot of people must like the entertainment. You know.
Yeah, but then they go to these Bigfoot expos and they believe. I mean, these are the same people that go to these Bigfoot conferences and they listen to it and they subscribe to it. Do they believe it? Do they not? I don't know.
Well, that's what happens. It goes to the Bigfoot conference or gathering, and then somebody says, "Did you hear that story about that guy that shot that one 3 times that pulled him out of his tent?" Like, no, did that really happen? No, I don't think so.
Jack's got a great question here. Do you guys believe there are more than one species of Bigfoot? No, I do not believe there's more than one. If you think about this, it's pretty incredible if there is one species that we would consider a Bigfoot. But like Homo sapiens, and even chimpanzees to that, because think about chimpanzees. Chimpanzees have very similar looking cousins, bonobos and billy apes.
Right.
And there are other species in actuality, but look at look at human beings. How diverse are we? I mean, there's pygmies, and then you have these really tall folks that usually come from like the Nordic countries that are,
Right.
and they're blonde hair and very, light skinned. And then you have people that come from Africa that have a dark skin.
Right.
And then you have people that come from Asia where their facial structure is a little bit different than ours.
Right.
And then you have people that.
Mick. Oh my God, Mick.
Thank you, sir.
Mick gifted 5 Bigfoot Mystery Squatch-D memberships. Thank you so much, Mick.
You are the bomb diggity.
Wow.
So if you think about it,
there's really one species, but maybe different subgroups.
Or one species, but races. There may be different races,
right.
But dimorphically, they all sound like the same being to me. There's different heights, shapes, sizes, hair length, color of hair. Hey, don't we have that in all of us?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you think about it. We have Caucasians, we have African Americans, we have Latinos, we have Asians, we have Pacific Islanders, we have Aboriginals, which look a little bit different. We have pygmies, which are short. We have your Middle Eastern, which look. I mean, we have so many different colors, complexions, sizes, and shapes.
Right.
That should we and believe it or not, in chimpanzees, there's actually different sizes, shapes, colors, and facial structures.
Well,
so
you got your gorillas in continental Africa. You got the mountain gorillas, will typically have a larger sagittal crest than the lowland gorillas. The lowland gorillas typically have a more rounded head, but there's both still species of gorilla.
But one is actually they do have different DNA. One is gorilla, and the other one is gorilla barenghi.
Yeah, but they're still
the lowland gorilla is gorilla. The mountain gorilla is gorilla barenghi. So they are just like chimpanzees have slightly you're talking the difference is that much.
Yeah. Right. But we're talking the difference between a white male human, Caucasian, and then a white male Asian human. There's going to be slight differences, but they're still both humans.
Right.
They're human. Right. We all maybe look a little different, and that's okay. And I think the Bigfoot's the same way. They probably look a little different too, depending on where they're at.
And then of course we have Bergman's rule, which means your body structure, height, and size will vary depending on your environment. Right. For example, and I always bring this one up: your typical North Korean is 5 foot, or South Korean is 5'9", and your average North Korean is 5'7". And the reason why, from that country to that country, even though they're all Koreans, right, is because of nutrition. Right. That South Koreans get more nutrition than the North Koreans do. Therefore, they're a little bit smaller in stature.
Exactly.
And that's a great example of Bergman's rule.
Yeah, the nutrition can play a big role, in development.
So
it's a interesting topic,
but great question. Thanks for asking.
Jack. Yeah, great question, Jack. What is it?
All right, next slide. Here we go. Oh no, not again. Yes, that's right, folks. You see, here's more
Miller Doc. Oh my God.
spelling. I mean, how long ago have we debunked this? And 1 week ago, a channel with 23,000 viewers called the Bigfoot Project. Yeah, right. If you look at if you look at their pages, it looks like another story channel or another channel that examines junk science. So you got to be responsible for what you preach. Obviously, you didn't do the digging, because if you Google the Miller Doc, guess what site comes up on the top 5?
Oh, our friend, what's her name?
No, my site.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about what's her face?
The Miller Doc.
Linda.
My site comes up pretty quick.
Okay.
And again, a scientist's documented examination of a big H.A. Miller, MD, PhD. He was neither. He was not an MD. He was not a PhD. Nope. He had a master's in forestry. Right. And there is the real H.A. Miller, including the picture on the left, which is with Linda Newton Perry, hoaxer extraordinaire, who started this whole thing. Put up on the website as H.A. Miller, and it does say H.A. Miller, but she never named him by his first name. But we do some digging and find out his real name is Howard A. Miller. Yeah. And Howard A. Miller actually wrote a book, and there it is right there. BA in biology from Simpson College, and completed graduate work, School of Forestry at Yale University. Right. And there's his Yale University picture in 1930.
Well, yeah,
right.
A BA at Yale is something to be proud of. Well, I don't know if it is now, but it used to be.
and of course, he served in World War II, had active duty in World War II. That's when he was supposed to be in medical college, boys and girls. I thought he worked for the forester, and it's a forester. Yep. So he worked for Fish and Wildlife in the United States Forests.
Right.
Never was an MD. Never was any of that. He wasn't even a PhD. He got a master's in because that's what's or whatever it was there. At Yale. Yeah, that's right. Yale. That's what they offered at Yale. So again. There's another channel, the Bigfoot Project, spreading lies, and that's why when we do things here, we put a question mark at it, because we're like asking the question: Bigfoot bloody trying to kidnap someone? That's what we're trying to say. We didn't put that as Bigfoot bloody trying to kidnap.
Right.
We put that question mark in there because we're asking that question. So, but yeah, it just so disgusts me when I see like this by H.A. Miller, MD, PhD. No, he was neither.
Well, I know most everybody here remembers that show we did on the Miller document. But if you're listening on one of the podcasts or something and you hadn't seen it yet, go check out the show on the H.A. Miller document.
Yeah, and there is a short form video on the H.A. Miller doc, because again, like a year or so ago, it came out again. And if we go back all the way to a couple of years ago, we did the H.A. Miller, the Miller doc deep dive omnibus on that. That was the title of it. And we talked for a couple of hours on it, including with a researcher that Reba Campbell, great girl, out in Washington State, who, she had gathered a lot of this stuff, a lot of these pictures from Simpson College.
And I believe, if my memory serves correctly, we did bring up that document word for word and read it through, and we discussed some of the wording in some of the written wording in the document itself. And it was pretty much somebody was trying to use scientific terms and sound scientific for this document, but the truth is they probably didn't have the background right.
Well, yeah, according to Dr. Meldrum, who looked at it, he says, yeah, there's some terms in there that they sound awful scientific, but they're really meaningless. Right. And But yes, H.A. Miller actually co-wrote a book with somebody else, and that's how we know, that Howard Miller, and that's him. I mean, did the H stand for? It stood for Howard, and there's Howard Miller. We have the picture evidence to prove who he was, because the picture in the bottom is, if you look at center, the picture on the bottom is Howard Miller enlargement, and a couple of pictures at Simpson College, and you see him again at the forestry school in Yale, where he received a master's degree. And then we see a book written by Howard A. Miller. Yeah. And it says right there, Simpson College, Yale, and nothing about an MD. Because one would think, why would he work as a forester when he could be working as an MD?
Yeah. Quite a bit of difference in the take-home pay there.
Yeah.
But, all in all, though, the Miller document was a great story. It was interesting to read it, and it gives you the things like it could be almost believable, like a tree got struck by lightning and fell on the Bigfoot, or what was it? Was the Bigfoot in the tree?
Hey, do you know what? You know what I could do?
What?
And Mick just gave me a great idea. And I hope Linda Newton Perry gets a hold of this. What if I contact H.A. Miller's relatives, their living relatives? There's got to be a grandchild.
Yeah, somewhere you would think.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if he sends a cease and desist letter to Linda Newton Perry and to retract what she said about their relative? Because the fact is, you're talking about a real person that existed one time, and they have family.
Right.
And that's what pisses me off about this one. Because, I love my grandpa, and then you come across this bullshit.
They're probably not even aware that his name's been used in this way too.
Well, I can make them find out real quick, and it shouldn't be too hard to find out. Shouldn't be too hard to find out. Even though the Miller is kind of a common name,
right?
But there are ways. We know what township he lived in, right? He worked as the manager of the White River National Wildlife Refuge. Arkansas, that's right. He was from Arkansas.
More than likely, his obituary would have been in a newspaper somewhere, and if there are old articles from the old papers that were scanned,
survived by.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice for Miss Newton Perry to get a friggin' knock on the door. All right, here you go. Here's your restraining order. Stop talking about H.A. Miller. This is from his family.
Well, the story was a pretty cool story. It had some believable aspects to it. That's the thing.
No, it didn't.
Yeah. Well, the Bigfoot body was discovered because it had been hit by, or a tree fell on it.
Right, and the two loggers that found him, those pictures were fake too. They were from a newspaper article, and they were made up names.
Yes,
and we actually got the real names of the people in the picture, not the phony. Yeah. Again, Linda Newton Perry, consistent. I got to admit, she's been pretty consistent since 2010.
Well, you could tell there's some creativity there in the story. You got to give them credit for that. But it's just a story. That's all it is. It's a fiction.
Right. But the fact is that Copernicus and Tesla, Mick, because he said, it's worse if your name was Copernicus or Tesla. I had a time be a story about them. But the problem is they were public figures.
Yeah.
H.A. Miller was not.
That's right.
He wasn't a public figure. So if you're not a public figure now, that's why, I can get away with saying crapola about the idiot out in the West Coast there that likes Diapeach Snapple, because he's a public figure. After all, he is the world-renowned Bigfoot hunter. right? By his own self-admission. Conversely, I can't really, go after people that talk about me because I'm a public figure. But H.A. Miller, not a public figure.
Oh, good question, Mick. I don't know. Probably. But the old adage that does a tree fall in the woods? Does it make a sound if nobody's there to hear it?
I always get it mixed up with it. If a bear poops in the wood, does it make a noise? Nobody's there to hear it. Does it make a noise? I always get those two stories.
Well, I would say that, even if nobody's there to hear it, it does make a sound because all the ones I've heard fall have made a noise.
Yeah, those bear poops come down pretty hard.
That's the thing, though. Yeah, if you didn't see the tree fall, can you prove that it fell?
Oh, no. It's much easier to prove that it was Sasquatch that did it.
That sounds like that's some. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to get on that subject. But yeah, if you didn't see the tree fall, then there's no proof that it fell. Well, it's laying on the ground, but that doesn't mean that it fell there. Okay.
Yeah, a Sasquatch could have gently laid it down.
Yes, that's true. Could have plucked it up out of the ground and gently laid it down in the forest.
Ask half the people in some of these Facebook groups. That's the more likely answer.
Oh, man.
So, lunacy, man, lunacy.
Yeah, stop the lunacy.
Now they're like a little misinformation Wednesday.
Well, I think talking about these kind of stories is good and bringing it out that, okay, this is somebody's literary creation,
right?
Rather than this is something that actually happened. I don't think there's any way this happened. And that's just my personal opinion, but
I dare say it may have even been created by AI and read out as a script.
After the horrifying first night, when they stayed there for night 2, okay, I'm out. That's it. It's over. There would have not been a night 2, unless we were there with a search and rescue team tracking blood spatters through the forest to find out. Oh, man.
Yeah, I would have been. Well, thank you, Patty, for better late than never. You can always catch us in the replay.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, instead of a blood trail, had that then me dragged out of there. In the morning, you wouldn't have found me. You would have found a poop trail right out to my vehicle and then out.
Yeah, I would probably not have been there the rest of the night. Yeah. No way.
I mean, I can take having rocks thrown at me, but when you get handsy with me, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, it also kind of makes you wonder what the motive would be. Why would Bigfoot want to grab you and take you off somewhere? Are you why I
mean, other than curiosity, why would you touch somebody and then you get scared off, then you're gonna come back a little while later and grab somebody and try to pull them out of a tent? What behavior have we seen of them? If somebody's in camp, usually they don't bother you too much. They're like, okay, we're gonna stay out to the perimeter of the camp and watch, right? And then, or we're gonna just move on.
Yeah, and if I was out in a tent, which don't hold your breath for me next time for me to be out in a tent. But if I was out in a tent, it would have a zipper, and before I lay down next to my flashlight and my handgun, I will zip the tent closed.
Yeah.
And then if I hear something in the middle of the night, the first thing I will do is turn on the flashlight. Well, if I'm looking for something, I might just sit there and listen for a little while.
So, Kaiju Ninja 1985 just asked the elephant in the room question.
Whoa.
I don't.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of great detail that he goes into that's really interesting, but is it something he could have picked up later on and then added to that story all those years later?
Yeah, I think the whole thing of keeping your gun inside the sleeping bag sounds a little a long rifle. I mean, a pistol I can understand because you would pull it out, but a long rifle you'd
Sure.
have to, you know,
Yeah.
just doesn't sound like something somebody would do.
You can you could, but more likely it's going to be within arm's reach, not
Me-
inside the bag.
He just likes that cold steel next to him. I don't know.
But he does say that he was intending on staying awake. So he very well, could have had it close to him, but he fell asleep. Yeah.
I don't know. I just carried him over its shoulder. Well, how did the gun bend?
Yeah. Right.
That's another issue I have. That would have caused a rip in the bag or caused, an issue of him being carried very uncomfortably.
Right.
As an investigator, it's the fine details that you have to look at sometimes.
Yeah.
And the very how should I say it? The very nonchalant type of details, because one thing you can expect in a hoax
Right.
is they're going to be very heavy on the detail about their encounter.
Yeah.
And then when they try to get heavy on the detail about the minute stuff, that's where you start to find the mistakes coming and things that don't sound possible.
Some of Osman's descriptions. See, the funny thing is, you could tell by his story and his descriptions that he had been in the area. I think that part was true. Some of the descriptions, though, about seeing Mount Baker to the south, I don't know. That was like 100 miles away from the nearest peak that you could have seen it from.
Yeah, Mick, I get that. But
Yeah.
again, you can't argue being he was carried over the shoulder, right, for all this distance. That doesn't sound kind of proper. And number two, if there was a rifle in the sleeping bag, how is he going to bend with that gun being in there? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Logistically, it doesn't sound right. And usually that's an indication of something. If something sounds off, it's usually
I have really
let me give you a great example of the old lady story. Very very early in my loss prevention career, I had this woman who started putting some of these expensive items on top of her purse as she's shopping in the grocery store, and she ducked around the corner and started tucking all the stuff into her purse, zipped her purse up, went over, paid for one item that she had money in her pocket, and then she left. Stop her, bring her back. She admits to it, the whole nines. And then we get a call from her attorney, and it's like, well, she says that the stuff accidentally fell into her purse. And you see, that's the kind of interrogation I would love. Oh, well, it just fell into your purse, really? And so and it's that fine detail. Well, do you always put small things on top of your open purse when you shop? Because that's not the normal thing to do. Right. Do you always cover that drill up with a pillow or a blanket, hide it in the shopping cart when you move around the store? Before you steal, because you're trying to hide the fact that you have a drill in the car so you can go around the corner and steal it. Yeah, I mean, you would always, that's the way that's the way I shop. Or really, it's the way you shop. And so what are the other types of things that you hide when you shop? It's that kind of questioning that it's that little fine detail or these little excuses people make that would always that always would spell their demise is the the small attention. Again, well, it fell into my purse. That's the big detail. They're pretty solid about that, but it's that little stuff building up to that event that they are so weak on, and that's something as an interrogator and interviewer that you got to realize. So when I read a story like this, it's not so much about the story about being pulled out of a tent by a Bigfoot. That's going to be a little more solid than the rest, but the stuff around it makes no sense. And that's generally...
Well, I got to say, the Ostman story was a better one than this. It was better than this. But still, you know, there's things to like about the Ostman story. There's things to not like about the Ostman story. So
right. Well, I'm sorry, Kaiju Ninja can't find a platypus joke tonight. Just pay the bill when you leave. That's all. All right, folks. I guess that's it for tonight. It's 10 p.m. Yeah. We will see y'all in a couple of days on Friday before the weekend begins. Woohoo! And right now it's hump day for those who are working, and just another day for a person who is out with a neck injury like me.
Marlin 30. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody's had one of those, Grass. Winchester's was real popular around here, but the Marlin, you could mount a scope on top rather than off to the side. Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we're going to try something new tonight. StreamYard's really running quick. We talked about that the other night about StreamYard and its price change. Yeah. But
they added a new goodie.
So it makes things a lot easier for us on this end as far as editing a show and intros and stuff like that. Because now when we hit the go live button, it plays our intro video. Now hopefully, we haven't tested this one yet, but when we leave, when we click end stream, it's supposed to play the exit. But they said just in case, stay aware because we may be still on the air at the end of the thing regardless. So we'll see. So again, we'll catch everybody in a couple of days. Survive the week, folks. God bless, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Keep on squatching, folks. Catch y'all in a minute.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.